Hello everyone, my name is Lacey. Welcome to my YouTube. But today I'm going to talk about something that I started when I first started my positivity, woo-woo, whatever you want to call it, journey that has helped me the most. Like, I think it is the most vital thing that you could do to help change your mind, your outlook on life, your perspective, and all that jazz. Okay, so the method, it is actually, sorry, as you know in all my videos, my cat. In psychology, there's something called a mirror work, if you've ever heard of it. It's basically like the ideal of you talking in the mirror and helping changing your, I think it's mostly used for like changing your negative self-doubt, but I think that there's lots of ways that you can use it. When I first started the process of using the mirror to help me in becoming more positive, I did mostly focus on just like saying, hey, so and so, whatever your name is, and then saying, like, I know you have these dreams, these goals, and then saying what the goals are, and then saying, like, well, along the way, someone deep down, like, somewhere along the way, you kind of felt like you didn't deserve them, or someone told you that it's hard, blah, blah, blah. But I want to let you know that you can have what you want and more, so and so. But now I kind of use it in multiple different ways. I do try my best, if I remember, to talk to myself in one way or another by looking into my eyes, into the mirror every single day, which would be like, I have this little mirror here, this compact mirror. I literally had to find one because I was like, how do I bring a mirror over here? But like, you want to look into your eyes, like look into your soul. It's weird at first. My cat. Okay. It is weird at first. It is kind of uncomfortable, especially if you're someone who doesn't have, like, when I first started, I wasn't very confident. I wasn't very comfortable with myself or others or looking into people's eyes. Sorry, one second. Um, here. But the more you do it, the more you get comfortable with the ideal of looking into your soul, basically. It becomes very easy. But now I do it in multiple different ways. I do the way of helping you reach your goals. I do it in like inner child work, which is where you talk to the youngin inside of you that is sad, scared, angry, whatever the emotion may be. That is what I've been doing through my OCD therapy to help heal that part of me. And you can also do it just to pump yourself up, to try to let go of negative self doubt and just talk positively about yourself, like affirmations. There's multiple different ways. I'm sure there are even more ways than that you can use this. But that is one thing that I did when I first started that changed my, that really changed my outlook on myself, on the world around me, and made it easier for me to talk to other human beings and even look into the camera more. Being a live streamer, you have to be able to look into the camera. I think I was not realizing how much that actually gave me fear and how much I avoided eye contact with other human beings because I didn't even want to look into my own eyes. I didn't know who I was, so why would I want to interact with other human beings? Um, but let's go through a way of doing it if you were going to reach if you wanted to use it to reach all of your goals. So I'll use this little elf mirror here. So if you want to look into your eyes and be like, hi, Lacey, I know you want, let's come up with a goal. You want to be a bajillionaire. Let's just go with the most limitless option there is, all right? Like, I know you want to be a bajillionaire, but somewhere along the way, your family or society or whatever told you you could not have that goal. Well, I want you to know that you are awesome, you are great, and I believe in you. It can be, that's a very simple way of saying it, like a very cheesy way of going about it. You need to fill it out and see what works for you and what feels right for you and your life personally. There could be certain ideals or certain beliefs that you know that you have, but then there also might be you don't know yet where the negative thoughts came from or the why you feel the way you do about your goals. So you might need to start with a very basic and then kind of like peel off the layers and realize like it'll be easier over time to realize where those self doubt or those negative thoughts came from. Sometimes it's not something you need to figure out. Sometimes it's just part of being a human, and that is where like I use the law of assumption, or like Neville Goddard's ideal of like the law of assumption, where you can have what you want despite your negative self-doubt. Sometimes we think we need to be this positive person all the time, and yes, raising your vibration or being positive and happy or and kind of being on the same vibration of your goal is very beneficial, but it's not always going to happen because you are a human, you are learning, you're growing. So it's very important to have grace on yourself. And I think seeing it as you can have what you want despite sometimes having a negative feeling on the inside, that really does help you. But I do think that this helps you let go of those negative self doubt and self thoughts, or you know what I mean, and be able to look at them and realize that, there's just something in there that somewhere along the way you learn this thing but that doesn't mean it's true. That's another part I forgot to mention, was to kind of speak on it as these are beliefs. That doesn't mean that they're true. So you could say, somewhere along the way, I learned the belief that you had to work hard and that if you didn't work hard, you didn't get what you want. Well, then you can change that and say, well, that's just a belief. And beliefs are not facts. The facts are like the sky is blue, but that doesn't mean, like, it doesn't mean that just because they're facts or they're I can't see. Just because their beliefs doesn't make them true. And there's people every day that reach their goals and don't burn themselves to the ground by doing it. And I think so sometimes looking at it as these are just beliefs and that doesn't mean that that defines me, helps you let go of them by being like, okay, I can change these negative beliefs about myself. That doesn't mean like you have to change who you are. You're just letting go of those layers of you that try to burden you or make you step on your own toes. And the good part of you on the inside knows that you can have what you want and more. Or maybe you don't know that yet and you're trying to peel away at that so that you can be more of your true, authentic self. Whatever you want to play with it. This is already a learning process. As a human, you're probably not already doing, you're probably not talking to yourself in the mirror this way. So even just doing it helps so much. Even just looking at yourself and being like, hey, you're awesome. That's kind of where the next part would come into, where you just say affirmations. I think that's more the psychology way, where you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I am awesome, or I am the bee's knees, or I am great. I can reach all my goals. Like, that's already a good thing to try to do, because you're not always doing that as humans, where you're not looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm awesome. This kind of helps with your confidence and your self-esteem and being able to talk to others and interact with others in person. I think that really helps me, like, just when in my day-to-day life, leaving my home and being around other people. Because I don't think you have to look at yourself in the mirror for affirmations to work, but I do think it helps build the confidence of speaking to others and being clear with what you're saying. The next one is where my therapist has been, well, I don't think my therapist is making me doing in the mirror. She kind of just says, hey, do it. But as you guys know, I have OCD, so I do have a little negative demon on my shoulder doing its work sometimes. And so I'm using like the mirror method now on top of the other ways I use it to help heal the inner child within me, that somewhere along the way she started believing that she had to be perfect at everything she does. I think you guys know that's why I'm also doing this YouTube. It's kind of like the YouTube is my mirror method, or not mirror method, mirror work. Not mirror method. Mirror work is kind of like me trying to say, hey, like, you have these emotions, you don't understand them, and no one ever let you feel them. So what I'll do is I'll go in the mirror and I will speak all of my emotions out loud when I have them. And then I will comfort myself by saying, "Hey, like I think you're awesome." Either so, let's say you're having a bad day and you're angry about something. So you would go and say like, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, I'm mad," and then you would say to yourself like, "Lacey, like that's okay. Like, I love you anyways. I believe in you anyways, even if no one else believes in you. Even if everyone thinks that you're going to fail, I believe in you." And you kind of want it to be like saying your negative thoughts out loud. Don't be afraid of them. Here's the thing. You think because we're being all positive that you need to be afraid of those negative self doubt, those negative thoughts. Well, if you're afraid of them, they're just going to come back tenfold. You know, I have OCD, and that's a part of my therapy is exposure response prevention. Is that you don't want to like shove them away or look at like them like they're bad. You kind of want to speak on them and let them go. There's a difference between speaking on them and letting them go than shoving them away. And there's also a difference between ruminating on them and making them become your entire personality and becoming who you are. There's a fine line, and you have to like find that for yourself and what works for you. But I do think that speaking on the negative self-doubt alone to yourself, no, you don't need to be saying it to other people. You don't need to be, like, and here's the thing. I do think that people do need to talk to others sometimes, but you need to find the right time and place. And maybe like I do it with my therapist or like a close friend or something, that it's a safe space to do that, not in my everyday life. I keep it to a time and a place for my own well-being and their well-being. I do know that people need to talk to people sometimes, but I do think that it can, for all of us, it can be a very slippery slope of becoming a negative Nancy in a way. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to be yourself, but sometimes you have to look at, is this me being myself, or is this the negative demon on my shoulder trying to take away my happiness? And I think that that's for each of us to decide personally. But I do know that that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the YouTube, is because I have dealt with perfectionism my entire life. When I was growing up, and that's what I'm mostly trying to let go of, is realizing that when I was growing up, it felt like nothing I ever did was enough for, I'm not going to get into that too much, but for certain situations, and it kind of ruined my ideal of what is right or wrong, or what is perfect, or that I should be perfect, because it felt like nothing I ever did was enough and I would still get in trouble. And that kind of ruined my ideal of what is perfect. And I've had OCD since I was 8. I didn't know. And I think that pulling away those layers, it takes work. It's not overnight, but I want to tell you from my own personal like experience that it is worth it. It is not always easy. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I have sat in the mirror and cried about it, and even now my little voice in my head is like, shut up, like, why are you telling people this? Like, keep it to yourself. But this is the time or place. This is the way you do it, in a way of, I'm sharing this with you guys because I want to, in case it helps you. That is, I think, a good time or place to speak on the negativity with others, is when you're doing it in a way to bring light to others or bring happiness to others, because sometimes sharing it does help others realize that they're not alone. But I think there's a difference between sharing with others so they feel less alone and then making it your whole personality. So I will say that, my channel is all about realizing that perfect doesn't exist, and happiness has, you know, even with people who are positive and happy, they do have a little negative self doubt and self thought, or negative thoughts in their mind, and we all have it. And I don't think people talk about that enough. I say that in every single one of my videos, that I don't think that people that live positive lifestyles or do manifesting or law of attraction talk about it enough, that we all have negativity in our mind. And I think that's what makes it so hard for people to get on board with. They assume that, like, well, how am I supposed to do it? I have negative thoughts. Well, we all have negative thoughts. We're all humans. No one's special in that way, that we all, it's just a spectrum of how bad some people have it. Some people have mental illnesses or mental disorders that make that a little bit more strong, like a little bit stronger. You know, I am a example of that. But it is possible to at least. I'm not saying it's going to be 0 to 100. I will never say that, because none of it's 0 to 100. It's always a, you might have 0 to 1 or 1 to 5 or 5 to 10, and that's okay. It's a part of the process. It is what makes it beautiful. And I think that we just need to talk about it in a way that makes it seem more rational to others, because it is a beautiful thing. Like, feeling like the whole world isn't on your shoulders, and instead you're picking up the world with your shoulders. Or, does that even make sense? It is enlightening. It feels amazing. It's what makes me have tears in my eyes right now, just to think that it isn't as hard. Well, I'm not saying it's not hard, but maybe this was the hard work that we needed to do all along, was looking within, changing our beliefs, making or creating this life that we want to have. Maybe that was the hard work that we needed to do all along. And I just want to let you guys know that I have a few other videos that I have thought about making. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it made sense. I'm not really, with all my other videos, I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to let it be. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope that this finds you well, and that it finds you in the right time and place. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Oh, and a reminder that you are the bee's knees. You're awesome. You're amazing just the way you are. Yeah. Have a great day.